No. Hey there, Grappling Ignorance here. And I take some serious issue with the current United States Pledge of Allegiance. And it's not just because of that typical thorn in the side of atheists where it says one nation that's under God, but the entire thing is pretty much inaccurate in my opinion. First of all, it says, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I don't understand why not only around the entire nation do we have to have our children required to pledge their allegiance to something before they even know what their allegiance means. I didn't know what that was for years until after I learned the Pledge of Allegiance. But that we're having them pledge their allegiance to a piece of fabric, to material. And people are going to point out that that's just a symbol for something, but it's true. That's what the pledge really means. You really do pledge your allegiance to that flag. And in the military, they preach it that way. You are supposed to take your flag down, even at risk of your own life when you're being attacked. And the language of the pledge supports that. It says, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. And, meaning in addition to. I think it would make a lot more sense if it just pledged its allegiance to the republic, not the flag and the republic. So that's ridiculous. It says one nation, but I don't think that there's any controversy over the idea when you say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, that it would be in reference to any other nations. I suppose that its original purpose was to point out that we're bound together, but that comes later on when it says indivisible, which again is wrong. Now, obviously, under God is a seriously ignorant thing to put into a pledge for the country that's supposed to be secular in all of its government. Anyway, we get to this part that says it's indivisible, which is ridiculous because it's composed of 50 different states that all have their own different legislatures, taxes. Everything about each state is separate. Now, we have a federal government, of course, but you're talking about a nation where I can't go from one state to the next with in terms of moving and living there without getting a new driver's license. I need to get a new license plate on my vehicle. I need to do different licensures for different jobs. Teaching, for example, I would have to get a different teaching license if I was going to go teach in Illinois versus teaching where I teach now, or teaching in California or that sort of thing. Every state has its own licensure for that because they have their own education systems that have their own requirements. We're not exactly nation that's completely indivisible. We're divided on a number of different issues. Just look at the differences when we go to the polls in November, who's voting for what, and the whole purple states, blue states, red states sort of thing. We're clearly divided on a number of things. So to call us indivisible is absurd. And then at the end it says, with liberty and justice for all. And we're talking about a nation which essentially favors the rich and has no real respect or concern for the poor when you're looking at it on a practical scale in terms of legislature, in terms of the enforcement of law, who gets away with what, who's set up to succeed, who's set up to fail, who can just bail themselves out of any kind of legal consequence for their actions. It's certainly not the poor people. It's the rich people and the people in power because they have that money, and they're going to keep their other wealthy constituents happy and voting for them so they remain in power. I think all that is pretty clear for anyone who thinks critically about the system of government we have here. But it's certainly not a place where everyone enjoys the same level of freedom or justice for that matter, because people with money and power get to do a lot more than those without. And of course you could argue that people that don't have power are capable of getting themselves in those positions of wealth and able to do those sort of things, but I think that they are certainly set up for failure as opposed to others who are set up for success based on money again. So I think if we were going to keep the same format and we were going to reword the Pledge of Allegiance to something that is more realistic. Again, I don't think we should force our children to say it in school every day, because if you're going to pledge your allegiance to something, it should be something you do completely of your free will, not because you're brainwashed to do it at a young age and then forced to do it in your adolescence. But Anyway, I think that if we're going to make it honest, it should be worded as follows. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, a country mostly divided by state legislatures with liberty and justice for the wealthy. Go.